Welcome to We're the Harrises. We got Chris Harris Jr., champion of Super Bowl 50, and we got current NFL players Shelby Harris and myself, Ryan Harris, champion alongside Chris Harris Jr. And fellas, let's get going right away with the divisional round of the playoffs. The Commanders having a big game, and some teams did better than others thought. But you got the Bills and the Chiefs in a rematch. Where do you want to start?
Man, let's just talk about that Bills game, man. If we really want to, just recap it real quick. That Bills Ravens game, one of the better playoff games that we've had all year. Just how exciting it was, and once again, the Ravens let Lamar Jackson down in crunch time, and he doesn't win it. He doesn't make it to the conference championship because of the mistakes of him and his team. And now they're at home, about to go to Cancun. And so it's just once another year where someone's going to try to blame Lamar Jackson for all of the Ravens' troubles when it's a team game. And yes, Lamar Jackson had the fumble and an interception early in the game, but it just so happened to happen early enough where the team could rebound and make a change and fight. And they did that all the way to the end. Came back about to tie it up, and then just couldn't connect on their 2-point play. And the ball wasn't necessarily a perfect ball, and Mark Andrews definitely should have caught it. He'll tell you that himself. He should have caught it. But once again, another year where the Ravens fall way short of expectations, and the Bills are going to another vaunted matchup against the Chiefs where they have not been able to get them at all during the postseason.
Right, man. When you look back at that game, it's like Shelby said, it's turnovers. Right, that was the big difference in that game. Lamar didn't protect the football as he should in the playoffs. When you look at his stats, he has overwhelming games of multi-turnover games in the playoffs. And then you look in the regular season, he has rarely any, right? So he has to be able to transfer his regular season play to the playoffs and really rise up another level. Because when I used to play Joe Flacco, I used to be like, damn, Joe Flacco, a damn Hall of Famer in the playoffs, right? He just elevated his game to another level in that playoffs. So that's something I'm waiting to see from Lamar. He hasn't really done that to me yet, just kind of taking over for that team in the playoffs. And the turnovers, man, it's hard to come back from those games when you lose those possessions early. Even though they happen early, they still count. They still give them extra chances. And that's how you beat the Ravens. You get up early on them, right? And after that, they kind of lose their game plan. Well, and that's what the Bills were able to do.
Chris, how much do you attest that to Lamar Jackson or to the play calling that seems to change every year in the playoffs?
Yeah. Well, you kind of want to come out with this, pretty much your game plan that you've been running all year. And when you look back at the regular season, did they not kill the Bills rushing the football? Mm-hmm. So I would kind of stick with that same game plan. But what happens is when the Bills go up early like that, they get kind of discombobulated, the Ravens do. And we see that happening all the time, right? The other team gets up early on them. Now they want to just pass heavy, and they kind of abandon their run. So that's the issue with the Ravens.
To me, the Ravens proved yet again that they are an immature team with immature leadership. You fail to master the details going into the playoffs again. And there is an aspect here of the game being – it was so snowy and so hard, but the Bills found a way, right? And to Chris's point, this has happened so much to the Ravens, it's now a choice. You can't go 4 years into the playoffs and have something happen and, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for – you're out of excuses. You're not paying attention to the details. You're not doing the work. And that's what the Ravens proved yet again. Now, conversely, the Bills, in that same weather, executed to a higher level. And that's what the playoffs are all about. That is what the playoffs are all about. I'll tell you boys something else. The Commanders, with their win, I mean, they're looking like the Giants teams that went from the wild card to the Super Bowl. I don't know if you can stop the Commanders. I was so impressed with their beatdown. It was really incredible to see. And Jaden Daniels is now getting the flowers that he has earned with the play that he has put together and the choices he's made to pay attention to the details in the playoffs and elevate his game.
You have to admit the Commanders are the surprise team of the year. Also with the Broncos, no one really had many hopes for the Broncos or the Commanders. It wasn't much expected of them. And then for them to go into Detroit, the home, they have the number one seed in the NFC, and beat them down the way they did. And, we can talk about Detroit's turnovers or anything, but what we call them as a defender, we call them takeaways because the Commanders took the ball away from them. They didn't just they didn't receive a gift or anything. They went and took the ball away from them. And that was, once again, turnovers is the name of the game. You can't overcome that many turnovers, Jared Goff. And it's just, that's the issue with the Detroit Lions. Whenever it's time, to really step up and play that type of ball, they always fall flat. But once again, that's credit to the Commanders. Man, they were rushing their ass off in that game. Pass rush was working crazy. Frankie Luvo is really, I feel like, taking that next step as a dominating linebacker. I'm surprised we haven't been hearing his name a lot more because he's a big component of that defense. Just going around, running around all over the place, rushing the passer, dropping coverage, making plays. That's the Commanders are really one of the hottest teams in the league right now, and I'd be worried if I was anybody playing them.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Jaden Daniels, he's hot right now, right? 4 touchdowns, 100 over 100 quarterback rating, 560 something yards in the past 2 games, right, in the playoffs. So you can really argue that he's the number 1 quarterback right now. If we did a power rankings of the playoffs, we would put Jaden Daniels number 1 right now, right? Just by his play and his stats. And he's going out there, he's making big throws under pressure. The Lions blitzed him heavy. He was still being able to stand in the face of the blitzes, of the rushes, and make good throws. I truly believe if your quarterback can't run, you're not going to win a Super Bowl anymore in this era of football. Because me, as a defensive player going to play Jared Goff, I would love to play him. Why? Because I know he's not running, right? When I got to go get Jaden Daniels, I know I got to cover a lot longer, right? So it's just different factors that he has as a quarterback, as a rookie. And it's probably one of the, we said it with C.J. Stroud, man. Can a rookie year get any better, than the year that Stroud had? Well, it did with Jaden Daniels, right? So this kid continues to – it's hard to bet against him, but, I got to go with the Eagles. Their run game is ridiculous. Saquon Barkley is going crazy this year. And I just think they have a better defense, with Jalen Carter and the Eagles secondary. I think they're a little bit better on defense, compared to Washington. But I do love what they have building. And, man, they're going to be tough to beat every year now.
Well, I think, too, you got to look at the fact, hey, me, I was saying Saquon, show us in the playoffs, right? Saquon, show us in the playoffs. Well, he did. Okay, he did. Yeah. 200 yards, averaging 8 per carry in the snow. What a performance against the Rams. I don't know. I got to ride with the Commanders. I just love the excitement, the underdog, absolutely. I love Jalen Hurts and what he's done. I think he's the best success story in the NFL in terms of perseverance and not listening to what other people say. Remember, this is a guy who they asked to play receiver at the combine, right? So, but give me some more Jaden Daniels. I love this. I love this Commanders flex right now.
Man, it's just the Eagles have – if anyone knows the Commanders, it's going to be the Eagles. This is the 3rd matchup of the year. You got to throw out all prior matchups. This is a fresh one. It's the playoffs. And, obviously before on the podcast, I went and I said it was going to be the Ravens versus the Eagles. Ravens were going to win it. Obviously, Ravens lost. But the thing now is the playoffs is all about who the hot team is. And, you got to ride the hot hand. And so saying that, I got to go with the Commanders. I think the Commanders can get it done. I think Jaden Daniels is going to shock the world. This Commanders team has been shocking the world since week 1. So, I'm a believer in the Commanders. Playing them and watching Jaden Daniels and playing the Eagles and watching Jalen Hurts they're both special quarterbacks. And it's just a matter of when that X factor is going to get turned on and who's going to be great longer when they play.
The big pickup by the Commanders was Latimer. Even though he hadn't had jumping numbers off the board yet, he just is a great player to have in your system, right? To add that guy on, he's been hurt the whole year. To pick him up in the playoffs, now you're comfortable, right? You can really run your system with Dan Quinn. You have a guy that you can trust on that island, man. I'm telling you, that really helped that defense because I never really thought the Commanders' defense was really good at all, I love Dorrance Armstrong. I love what he's been able to do coming from the Cowboys, right? They didn't say he was a starter in Dallas. So I know he was hungry to go to Washington and prove with Dan Quinn that he's a starter and he's a top flight, rusher. So I do like the pickups, what they've made. I just don't know if they can stop Barkley, man. That run game is hell over there to what they're doing over there with the Eagles. With that, their O-line is 330 plus across the board.
It can be done. It can be done. The Cleveland Browns did this year. On Barkley for its lowest total of the season, so it can be done.
Hey, well, I mean, maybe, but how about you guys tell us though? I've never been ran over like that. I mean, what is it like when you're getting when you're seeing like the 20th run in the third quarter? I mean, what is going through a defender's mind when you're getting ran at like that consistently?
Hey, time to make plays. As a D tackle, I'm talking about this. Hey, at the end of the day, like, a lot of teams, pass the ball nonstop, and it's a lot of runs outside. But when you get a team like the Eagles that will try to run it down your throat, that's a D lineman's dream because it's time to make plays. It's a time for you to show up. It's a time for you to show up and really, change the game and shut it down and get the ball back to your offense. And so I love it because I take it as a challenge to the D lineman. Like, they're pretty much saying, you can't stop us. So, you're going to tell me I can't do something. It's time for me to go out there and make plays and show out.
As a corner, you hate it because now you're like, we can't stop the run. I'm not going to get any picks. And then, a lot of times they're trying to run to the edges, right? So you're getting involved. They're putting you in the game plan off these duos and off of running off tackles and zones. And it just, it just gets demoralizing. Right, you're out there in the game. You're like, man, it's 3rd and 3. They're not about to throw the ball. Right? Oh, they're just gonna run it down our throats all game. So as a corner, man, you hate it, man. You gotta have some D line. That's why it's a team game. Like Shelby said, we need the D line to do their job and the secondary to do their job, so everybody can eat. Right? They want to pass for us, right? And we want to get picked, so we got to stop the run, man. So playing guys like Henry, you got to kill those. You got to kill their legs early. If they get going, man, it's going to be a long day.
Man, we got one more game coming up after that. And I think this is the game that everybody's looking forward to. It's the Chiefs versus the Bills, the rematch, Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Once again, another game added on to the saga. What do you guys, what are you expecting to come from this game? And will Josh Allen finally be able to get over the hump?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I'm a wrestling fan. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And how many times has Josh Allen lost, especially to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? I just think the mastery is being overlooked for the storylines to get people to view the game. Now, it would be great for the state of New York, probably America, if the Bills won that game and went to the Super Bowl, right? But I remember cheering for the Bills 3 times in a row when they got beat by the Cowboys in the 90s. I don't even know if you were alive yet, Shelby. So
91. Don't do me. 91.
I am going to support the perennial returning defending champion. I don't know why that's that hard. I don't understand why people got a problem with it. They lost 2 games this year. 2 games. That's incredible in the NFL. Give me the Chiefs. I love it for Josh Allen that he got to this game, but I think he's going to be disappointed again.
I got to go with the Chiefs, man. It's hard to go against Mahomes. He played pretty good, right? Other than, a couple throws. I think the O-line, they play solid. They ran the ball pretty solid with Kareem Hunt. I love that pickup, being able to get him back. I just got it's hard to knock off the Chiefs and Arrowhead. Anybody going there, it's always a challenge. The Bills, they are built in a good way to be able to run the football, keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. If they can sustain that, right, they have a chance. But I just don't see them stopping Pat, man. Being able to stop Kelce. They don't match up too well. I don't like the DeMar Hamlin versus Kelce matchup. He can prove me wrong, but I don't like that matchup this week.
Man, I just think that the Chiefs, for me, the Chiefs have to lose in order for me to believe it, because whenever they get to this point, no matter what the matchup is, no matter what anyone says, the Chiefs just find a way to win. And that's what they've been doing all year, just finding a way to win. And now for the Bills to win, they're going to need the team to do more, not necessarily Josh Allen. You don't want Josh Allen to go back to that gunslinger mentality where he's just throwing it up, because that's not what got them there. And I think the issue of a lot of teams when they get to the playoffs, they change what got them there. And you got to just stay true to who you are. They got to stay true to running the ball and letting Josh Allen set up, everybody else. But don't make Josh Allen do too much. We don't want to see him throwing 3 picks again in the playoffs. We don't need to see that again. So I'm a big believer in the Bills, but until someone proves me wrong, I got to go with the Chiefs. It's just the Chiefs every year have shown that they're going to find a way to win, and so they haven't scored over 30 points all season. So they found ways to win, and this is probably the best defense Patrick Mahomes has played with since being in Kansas City. So I got to go with the Chiefs until somebody proves me wrong.
I hope they do it, man. How fun would that be? I mean, this is what, their 8th consecutive title game? 8th consecutive? Not even Jordan did that with the Bulls. He didn't go 8 consecutive times. I mean, what? I can't believe people don't like it, man. It's shocking to me.
Well, what does it say? They do have the refs cheating for them.
Hey, man, hey, I'm not going to lie. That's something we need to talk about now. That's something we need to talk about regarding the Chiefs. I mean, there have been some pretty minimal contact fouls that Patrick Mahomes has gotten, and yet Tom Brady got those same things, right? Nobody was complaining when Tom Brady got it.
No, we were complaining.
Tom Brady was actually getting
players were complaining, but I didn't hear the media complaining. I didn't hear the media. I mean, they changed the rule that you couldn't even hit players low because he got injured, right?
So
I don't understand how we're inconsistent with everybody's upset now. This is what happens. If you're the best quarterback in the NFL, guess what? They want you to play more games. It's better for their money, right? So, yeah, they're going to make some calls. But how do y'all see everything that's going down with the refs and the calls that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are getting?
It's expected. You got to expect it, just like you said, the best team, the best player. You've been there over and over again. They're going to protect you because if something goes wrong, they're going to assume it's because you cheated. You did like another team did something that they weren't supposed to do. But that's why I always say, like, if you're going to beat the Chiefs, you got to beat the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to truly beat them. You just can't squeak by in a game against the Chiefs. You have to go out there and dominate them from start to finish. You can't leave anything up, to interpretation. So, if the Bills are going to do this, they have to go in there and just be dominant from the beginning because that's how you beat the best teams. That's how you would beat Tom Brady. It was hard to beat Tom Brady with a field goal last second because, you never really saw anything like that against Tom Brady because he's always going to find a way to have the ball last and be able to go down there and score, just like we see with Mahomes. And, Josh Allen experienced that in the playoffs when you're giving Mahomes too much time.
19 seconds.
Under 20, so you know what I mean? So that's what it's going to have to take for the Bills to win. Now, can they do it? I don't know because they haven't proved to do it yet. So this will be, everyone's going to be watching this game. This is going to be the prime time one that everyone's paying attention to, and everyone's going to be seeing if Josh Allen is going to take that next step in his career.
Who gave the Chiefs their loss this year? Their real loss?
The Bills.
The Broncos, man. The Broncos beat them down, man. Last game, man. Put some respect on the Broncos, boy.
No, versus their starters, right? The Bills.
Okay.
So
you got to
we know they're gonna be mad, man. They want payback, right?
Okay.
And then I was looking at a stat. It says the Chiefs have 30 less penalties since 2021 in the playoffs, right? They're either more disciplined or they're getting a lot more love from the refs, right? So I don't think they're very disciplined, right? I think Mahomes he knows how to draw flags. Kelce's always been a guy that's always been an actor, with the refs his whole career. But these guys, when you go to Arrowhead, like Shelby said, you got to beat them, right? A field goal is not going to help. Anything close is not going to help. You got to take the game out of the refs' hands. Right, Juju Smith-Schuster, or who was that with the bad call in the Super Bowl championship? Was that on Juju? They called Bradbury on the PI.
It was. Yeah.
Right? It's always some type of flag.
It was PI with Bradbury.
Yeah, it was, but you can't keep it close.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. You can't have it close right there where the ref can make the call, make the game, for you. So, like Shelby said, man, you got to beat them bad, man. You can't keep it close. Now we're on the third down. We got 2 coaching hirings right now with Aaron Glenn going to the Jets, right? Ben Johnson going to the Bears. I like those 2 moves by those guys. Those guys are very familiar with the situations they're going to. How do y'all feel about Aaron Glenn taking the Jets job?
I love it. I think Aaron Glenn's a perfect fit, former player, hard-nosed player, has respect of the whole locker room. And I think that's something that really needed to be done with the Jets. They need a culture shift. you keep hearing about from multiple people surrounding the organization that things aren't running as smoothly as they should. But I think Aaron Glenn's going to go in there and get everything under control. And they already had a good defense. They already had a great defense. They were one of the better defenses in the league. And so Aaron Glenn's is going to go enhance that. Now, the question mark, when we all know it, is the offense. What are they going to do with Aaron Rodgers? What is the direction of the offense? And so it'd be very interesting to see Aaron Glenn's whole staff, to see how, they're going to go about the offense. But for me, I think that's a slam dunk hire.
For me, it doesn't make sense. You got another defensive coach? Didn't the Jets just play this game? And I love Aaron Glenn. I love Aaron Glenn, the player. I love what he did in Detroit. I thought they were fantastic. I'm always a little bit head scratchy when the defensive coordinator of the team that got blown out in a playoff game gets a head job. I think the who's that coach over there at the Cardinals coach did that, right? And the Cardinals coach was the D coordinator for the Eagles, got the brakes beat off them and got a head coaching job. I'm happy for Aaron Glenn. What I do like, though, is he's keeping former players around. The biggest key to me in success in the NFL when it comes to a coaching staff is having coaches who actually played the game in the NFL. That's why Mike Tomlin is perennially in the playoffs, even though he hasn't had a quarterback the last 3 years, right? The year we won the Super Bowl, we had multiple coaches who actually played the game and won. And so Glenn's bringing in Mark Brunell, a former player, to help be that offensive coordinator. And Brunell's got to be excited. Now he's going to have a mobile quarterback. He's got a whole bunch of options there at the Jets in determining what they do next. So I love it for Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff and the players who are going to get coached by former players who played. But it's a head scratcher to go to a defensive coach. Problem on defense the last couple of years at the Jets. The problem was the offense. So that was a head scratcher for me.
I don't know why. I know the Cowboys situation is bad, but if I'm a head coach, I'm trying to get that job if I'm a free agent, right? I don't know why Ben Johnson didn't even try to go get that Cowboys job. At least they got a quarterback. They got a surrounding cash. They got some Pro Bowls over there. That's probably the best option, I would say. You see Ben Johnson like the Bears, right? That is a solid spot. At least you got a young quarterback. You got some weapons, right? I just don't like the O-line situation. And then the Bears has just been bad for 10 years since I've been in the league. 15 years. The last 15 years they've been bad. So how do y'all feel about Ben Johnson staying in the division, right? Staying in there with Coach Campbell, right? Wanting to smoke with them, staying in that division with the Bears.
I love it. I think it's a good move because obviously he knows that roster because he's played against it. You talk about the O-line, and I think that's obviously a very glaring weak spot. But luckily they have the cap space and they have the draft picks to be able to address it. And it's just with Caleb Williams, it's all about just trying to develop him where he feels more comfortable in the pocket. What I loved hearing from Ben Johnson was more of how his playbook isn't necessarily set. It's all about what Caleb Williams does best. And that's how you get the best out of your players is if you aren't stuck on doing things your way and you're pretty open to trying to just find ways that your quarterback and your offense, what they're good at, what can they thrive at. So, I love this already, the philosophy and what he's got going there. But, it's all about execution. It's all about the GM and the head coach bringing in the right players. Everything sounds great when you're at a press conference, but when it comes down to actually doing it, we need to see the action behind it. So, I'm very interested to see how the Bears will be, how aggressive they'll be in free agency to address their needs, and then in the draft to, really shore up their roster. But so far, it seems like it's going to be a good hire.
Well, I'm glad. I want to double click on something you said too, Shelby. That when a coach talks about he doesn't have set plays, he's going to figure out what his team does best. That's what creativity looks like on offense, right? Uncreative coaches have a system that they can't depart from. And the reason is they don't know what the heck to do, right? Versus a coach who's like, hey, we got all kinds of plays. What do you like doing? Let's see what happens. Like, that's a creative coach. But to me, with Glenn and Johnson leaving Detroit, this means that the Lions' window is closed. Those two coaches and coordinators really insulated some of the bad decisions Dan Campbell made throughout his head coaching tenure. And I'm a big Dan Campbell fan, and he's not the most situationally aware coach. I think the window's closing. It's closed in Detroit. you saw Jared Goff again in the playoffs just completely deconstruct. How many times have we seen that? How many more times we got to see that, right? So for me, I think it's sad news, Detroit Lions fans, but the window has closed.
Man, what about what's going on in Jacksonville? Obviously, beginning of the offseason, they were talking about they wanted to keep the GM. They fired the head coach, said Trent Baalke's going to be our GM. And then you start going through the coaching cycle, and you're realizing that people don't want to work with your GM. And so now you're 2 weeks into the coaching cycle, 2-3 weeks into the coaching cycle, and you finally decide to fire your GM. What's going on in Jacksonville? And if you're a head coaching candidate, how would you feel about the way they're doing things down in Jacksonville?
Where do we put our resume in over there?
I was going to say, man, call me up. Hey,
yeah.
Let's go, bro.
Yeah, they need some help over there. Come on, Mr. Khan, man. Find us, man. We can definitely give y'all some advice to what y'all got going on over there. For one, the first thing,
they're close in Jacksonville. That AFC South.
Oh, yeah.
You can
they
go,
got talent.
You can
they have talent.
You can go to the playoffs next year at the AFC South now.
Yeah, they have talent, man. But it's always been about Trevor Lawrence. Right? He needs another guy in there to give him some competition.
Yes.
Right? It's always been his since he's been drafted. Right? He had nobody else to look over, like no competition. Right? And I think that's a failure for some guys in the league. Right? We all had to compete for our job and our spot. Right? And that really like prolonged us to play longer in the league. But if you come in the league with no challenge, right? This is your spot. Nobody's pushing you. Right? Then you come out like a Trevor Lawrence. Right, so that's my only thing that's with the Jaguars is the quarterback spot. But like you said, Ryan, they got talent all over, right? They just need to find a good coach and a good GM now.
The thing, too, for me, you have to be able – I love the point about the pressure and the competition. Now, Caleb Williams is getting that same treatment now, right? Like I told you guys, I called the game. Caleb Williams' parking spot was right next to the GM, Ryan Poles. I was like, how's that work? He had a better parking spot than Keenan Allen. I don't know where they do that, but that's so this competitive edge, and it's so funny because you easily lose a locker room when you don't put competition at the quarterback position because everybody can see it. You got 70 other guys competing every week for their job, but the quarterback, it really doesn't matter what he does, right? Let's be honest. It really doesn't matter what Trevor Lawrence has done. He's getting paid. So I'm 100% with you that you need some more competition in general at that position. Go ahead, bring Sam Darnold in. Go ahead, bring him in and make him and make those two fight for it. And go ahead, trade somebody. But you also will need two quarterbacks at some point in the season. So I think with all these teams, you just got to trust in what they're doing in terms of now. Because a lot of times in the early offseason, people want to start making quick moves. But the best moves are ones that are strategic and well thought out.
Man, you could talk about competition all you want to, but it's kind of a microcosm of what the issue is around not the league but just college. These kids run away from competition now. And so when there's ever true competition, a lot of people just fold. And so these organizations, I'm not saying this is the issue with Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, but for a lot of players in the league, they fold under pressure. They fold when it's competition. And so you got a lot of GMs be like, is that really what we want to do? But you're not bringing out the best in the players if you don't make them compete for what they want.
Right.
And lastly, boys, we had the national championship. Ohio State beating Notre Dame. I'm going to just say this. Being there calling the game, Jeremiah Smith is ready for the NFL right now. He needs to enter the draft right now. He's like the youngest brother of Andre Johnson and Derrick Henry. This man is big. He's fast. Chris, man, I thought about you. I never seen this happen to you. But, man, they tried to jam him early in the game. He pushed the corner so hard. He went back 10 yards, and then he ran a route and caught the football. You know what I'm saying? This man is the difference maker. And, yes, Ohio State had $20 million on the roster, and go ahead, spend $20 million and win a national championship because it's pennies to dollars on that investment. And Ryan Day now setting himself in the lore of Ohio State coaches who won a natty.
That $20 million ain't nothing, right? You make that with all the bowl games you just did, right? Probably after the first game, right? So paying that $20 million salary, that's nothing. I would look at that as, hey, this is mandatory every year, right? And
the players get the money. The players get the benefit,
Yeah. And Ohio State, right? They just, they had too much talent. Their defense was too stacked. Their D-line was just head over heels above everybody, right? And when you have a D-line and you have a solid O-line, those are the teams that usually win. And shout out to Notre Dame, man. Only thing I didn't like the coach's face, man, his facial expressions. He looked like he was done after the first quarter. I just didn't like the energy that he was bringing across on the screen. And he usually doesn't act like that. I usually don't see that from him. So he just looked defeated, man. But I think the Notre Dame, their DBs, man, they kind of played a little shaky. They didn't play as good as they have in this season. But like you said, man, they got a grown man out there. They got a top pick, generational talent out there, and it's hard to beat that, man.
Man, Notre Dame, just took home for going to the national championship and being an independent. They just took home $20 million, that the school gets to take home. They need to go and use that because obviously Ohio State's roster is stacked, and it showed in that game. They literally were superior at every level of their team. And so if that's what $20 million gets you, then more people need to go spend $20 million because obviously it worked out because Ohio State easily won that national championship. And it's surprising that game didn't get blown out of proportion. But man, it's just if that's what the money gets you in college football, then you got to go spend it if you want to win because obviously Ohio State has the formula and they're going to keep going to it to keep taking home the national championships.
Well, I do want to credit Chip Kelly too. I mean, I probably called out 5-10 plays because he was doing the right thing. And on 3rd and 11, to get the ball back and go back and tie the game, I said they are going to Jeremiah Smith. And what does Notre Dame do? They go blitz 0 on 3rd and 11 against the best receiver in the nation. That's a bad coaching decision. I love Al Golden, but that is not intelligent in the game. That's poor situational awareness. And there were a couple of things coaching-wise that happened in that game for Notre Dame too. Kicking the field goal, the math didn't make sense. Don't understand it, right? But at the end of the day, Ohio State, guys, you would have loved it. They used multiple different cadences. They came out in the no huddle with the head bob, and then they just were kicking so much tail. They went to the cadence, right? They went to the cadence, and then they went to the hand clapping stuff, which get that hand clapping out of football. It doesn't let your linemen anticipate the snap count. It is stupid. It's the reason why nobody does it in the NFL. But a disappointing loss for Notre Dame on the heels of a great season, beating a lot of great teams. But at the end of the day, Ohio State executed from players to coaches in a better manner. And those players made more money than Notre Dame's players, and it showed.
Man, Riley Leonard.
The D coordinator should be fired.
Man, the D coordinator, you can blame what you want to on the D coordinator, but at the end of the day, players got to make plays. And then we all, if you're playing college football at that level, we all want to go to the league. We all want to go to the highest pinnacle. Well, in order to be considered the best, you got to play the best. And you got to perform against the best. And Ohio and Notre Dame struggled against Jeremiah Smith, and he's already one of the best receivers we've seen in college football. So, and we keep hearing about all these players on Notre Dame that with NFL aspirations. Well, that was the time to make the play. That was the time to step up and really show yourself. But look at Notre Dame though. I love the way they started the game. Riley Leonard, being aggressive, running the ball, looking like a poor man Josh Allen. But that was the issue though. When it came time to throw the ball, Ohio State's defense had more athletes out there that was just able to make plays.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're the Harrises, and we are brought to you by our friends over at Landmark Lincoln and the all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT plug-in hybrid. Woo, that thing is sweet. Head on over to landmarklincoln.com to check out the latest offers and incentives, including incredible tax incentives on all new Corsair GT plug-in hybrids. Go to landmarklincoln.com or stop into the #1 Lincoln dealer in Colorado to see if you qualify for no payments for up to 90 days. Again, that's landmarklincoln.com or stop in on the corner of Broadway and Bellevue today and see why they've been Colorado's trusted Lincoln dealer since 1911. That's our show for this week. Join us next week as we break down the championship games and who will win the Super Bowl.